And with that, you put it down into your area to start your fire. Now, I told you that there was an advantage to using this old saddle soap tin with the screw-on lid instead of the brass fire kit with a burning lens on top of it. And that's because in this, you can make your char cloth. In order to do this, we're going to cut some cotton, and this is from an old pair of pants. Cut that up in little squares, put them inside of here. And normally we put it into the coals of a fire. We're going to use some modern technology today. We're going to use this hot plate because there's fire warnings all over the state because it's so dry and so windy. Some people might wonder, what do you use if you don't go around with a bolt of cotton in your backpack? You can take wood, rotten wood, punky wood, and basically break that up into small pieces, put it inside of here, and char it the same way that we're going to do with this cotton. The difference is, when you strike with your steel and flint, instead of putting the char cloth in your hand and striking into that, you strike directly into the can with your charred wood in there. And I found that it works a little bit easier if you strike up, because that drives the sparks down into it. And then once you get one of the little pieces of charcoal in there with a spark on it, just pluck it out and put that in your bird's nest to start your fire. But to do this, we're going to go ahead and take this old piece of cotton and cut it up into strips. And then just start cutting them into little patches about that big. You don't want to pack it too tight because you want a little bit of air to circulate around it. But we'll go ahead and fill up the whole can. And here's our can with the cotton in it. It could probably be a little bit more full, but this will work fine. Now the trick to this is that you don't want too much oxygen to get into this as you put it over your heat. If you do that, a flame will shoot out of it, and what's happening is your cotton is burning. You don't want it to burn, you just want it to char. So I've turned this on. We'll go ahead and screw the lid on and put it on there and wait a few minutes until it actually starts smoking. When it stops smoking, it'll be done. It's been about 5 minutes or so. And you can see that our tin is starting to smoke. Some people will punch a hole in the top of it. I don't like that because I think that it gets too much oxygen to it. But one thing that is kind of nice about it is you'll be able to see a flame shoot up out of there if it does get too hot. On the other hand, with a screw-on lid like this, I've never had any problem with it getting too hot. But we'll let this cook for a little bit like this, and then I'll wind up flipping it over to make sure the stuff in the top gets cooked also. When it stops smoking, we'll be done. Our can has stopped smoking, and you want to make sure that it has stopped smoking before you remove it from your heat source, because if there's still material that can burn in there, as soon as you open that can and expose it to oxygen, it can burst into flames and ruin the things that you've been trying to do. The can should still be hot here. But you can see there's our charred cloth. If it's actually burned, it won't be flexible. But as you can see, this still has the strength in it, and it's still flexible, which is what you want. So there you have your char cloth. As I said, you can char in a can rotten, punky wood, or actually you can even take out of an old campfire some of the charcoal, scrape it off the logs or something like that, and start your fire out of that. So now you have your char cloth. It's time to make sulfur matches. The advantage of the sulfur match is that in wet weather or windy weather, or when your tinder is moist, this can make it a little bit easier to start. This is sulfur on the end here, and the sulfur actually will catch fire and will ignite the wood in the match itself, and it'll keep burning, and you'll get a flame very quickly. One thing to remember about these: when you put them out, either smother them, dip them in water, or I usually stuff them into the earth to put it out. Whatever you do to put these out, don't flip it like a regular match, or what will happen is this burning sulfur on the end will be flying through the air, and it could hit you or hit other things that you don't want burning sulfur to be on. So make sure that you smother these. Igniting them is the same method. Char cloth, and our steel. We have our spark on there. You wrap it around the end with the sulfur. And blow on it a little bit. And this can kind of get up your nose. So you kind of want to watch out for that. You can see the sulfur dripping right there, but it's already burning in there. And there's I don't know if you can see the flame or not, but it is burning. There, you can see the